She dreamed of serving her country. But inside the walls of Fort Hood, that dream became a nightmare. A missing soldier, a hidden truth, and a silence that echoed through one of America's largest military bases. This is the story of Vanessa Guillén, a tragedy that uncovered a system in crisis and sparked a movement for justice. Welcome to Into the Unknown, Unsolved Mysteries and True Crime. Vanessa Guillén was born on September 30th, 1999, in Houston, Texas. Her parents, Rogelio and Gloria Guillén, had immigrated from Mexico in search of a better life. They raised their daughters with strong values, faith, hard work, and the importance of family. Vanessa stood out early on, a top student, a fierce competitor on the soccer field and in track, and a young woman with a fierce sense of duty. She knew she wanted to serve. She told her mother that joining the military wasn't just a job, it was a calling. In 2018, after graduating from Cesar E. Chavez High School in the top 15% of her class, Vanessa enlisted in the U.S. Army. She was just 18 years old. Assigned to Fort Hood, she trained as a small arms artillery repairer, one of only a few women in her unit. She was proud of her role, proud to wear the uniform. But behind her discipline and dedication, something was wrong. On April 22nd, 2020, Vanessa arrived at Fort Hood as she always did. That day, she was scheduled for work at the armory, but by the afternoon, she was gone. Her car keys, her Army ID, and her wallet were found, left behind inside the armory. Her phone went silent, and Vanessa vanished. Her family knew something was terribly wrong. Her mother called, her sisters texted, no response. They contacted the base desperate for answers. But the response from Fort Hood officials was slow, vague, and dismissive. Vanessa's mother, Gloria, drove straight to the base from Houston. But even in person, she received few details, only vague promises that Vanessa would be found. Days turned into weeks, and still no sign of her. As days passed, the family went public. Vanessa's sisters gave interviews. Her mother stood outside of Fort Hood holding a photo of her missing daughter. Their pain was raw, and their message was clear. The Army wasn't doing enough. They revealed something shocking. Vanessa had told them that she was being harassed by someone in her unit. She hadn't said who, but she made it clear she was afraid to report it, afraid of retaliation, afraid she wouldn't be believed. The hashtag #IamVanessaGuillén began trending on social media. Thousands of service members, mostly women, shared their own stories of harassment and assault in the military. The silence had been broken, and now there was nowhere left to hide. Then a break. On June 30th, 2020, over 2 months after Vanessa disappeared, contractors working near the Leon River, just 20 miles from Fort Hood, made a gruesome discovery. Partial human remains. The remains had been buried in concrete and scattered across multiple sites. DNA tests confirmed the unthinkable. It was Vanessa. The next day, a name emerged. Specialist Aaron David Robinson, a 20-year-old fellow soldier from Vanessa's unit. He was not officially listed as her harasser, but he had been the last person seen with her. Robinson fled Fort Hood after learning Vanessa's remains had been identified. Tracked down by civilian law enforcement in Killeen, Texas, Robinson pulled a gun as police approached and then shot himself. He died before he could even face trial. With Robinson gone, investigators turned to Cicely Aguilar, his girlfriend. She was a civilian, but Robinson had confided in her. What she told police was chilling. Aguilar admitted that Robinson had killed Vanessa inside the armory, bludgeoning her to death with a hammer. He then stored her body in a large, hard-sided tote and drove it off base. Later, with Aguilar's help, he dismembered the remains and tried to destroy them using lime and fire before burying them in the river. Aguilar was charged with multiple counts, including accessory to the murder after the fact. In 2022, she pleaded guilty, and in August 2023, she was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Vanessa's murder was tragic, but what followed was a reckoning. Her death brought national attention to the systematic failures inside the military, particularly how it handles sexual harassment and misconduct. An independent investigation into Fort Hood uncovered a culture of abuse, fear, and neglect. As a result, 14 senior leaders were fired or disciplined, and Vanessa's name became a symbol, not just of loss, but of change. Her family worked tirelessly to push legislation forward. Their efforts led to an I Am Vanessa Guillén Act, part of the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. It overhauled how the military responds to sexual harassment claims, allowing victims to report abuse outside their chain of command. A shift born from sorrow. Vanessa Guillén was 20 years old. She dreamed of becoming a sergeant, of building a life, of making her family proud. Instead, her life was taken by someone who was supposed to wear the same uniform. But her voice didn't vanish. Her mother, her sisters, millions of strangers, they all carried it forward. Today, her name stands as a reminder of the cost of silence, of the courage it takes to speak, and of the change that comes when we demand better. This is Into the Unknown, Unsolved Mysteries and True Crime, and this was the story of Vanessa Guillén.